Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another Walking Dead video. So I wanted to talk about Carol's return. There was a trailer yesterday and it featured a shot of Daryl that I don't think it's related to it, but it just really reminded me of that. And I started to think more about the fact that Carol is going to be on this show. She's likely going to be here in season 1, but it's probably, I guess there's debate as to whether or not she's going to show up in like the final moments of the very final episode, or if it's going to be a post-credit scene, because there's been no official confirmation that she will be there for season 2. And because she started filming some stuff, when they were filming season 2, I think it just makes a lot of sense that she is going to return in the final episode, and it's most likely going to be a post-credit scene. Like, that's my prediction. So I want to talk about how, and talk about the storyline that could actually bring her there, and just try to get into some stuff here, because the last time we talked about this, we didn't see the trailer. We had no idea what the story was actually going to be for Daryl Dixon. So I actually kind of want to revisit this and get into it a little bit here. So before we go any further, obviously make sure to be a subscriber if you want to get all my Walking Dead content like this. Carol's return, if it does happen, it will be happening in 2 months from now, basically, because in 2 months from now, I believe is roughly around the time the very final episode of Daryl Dixon season 1 will be airing. So that to me is just kind of insane. It really shows how close we are to the premiere of Daryl Dixon. I think we're exactly 20 days away now, or 23 days, I guess, if you're watching on cable, right? So we're getting very, very close. The Walking Dead's almost back. Fans, I think, are going to be so excited to see Carol back, because there's something about the spinoffs that are just, it's so refreshing, but also having some of those older characters back, having just more characters from The Walking Dead on these shows also just makes it feel more familiar. Like, Dead City was super cool. Season 1 was just awesome. It was amazing. But imagine for season 2 if they could bring back some other characters from The Walking Dead, right? Like Aaron or Lydia or Ezekiel and etc., right? Like, imagine you actually start to bring some of those characters to that show. Obviously not a lot. I'd say bring 1, maybe 2 characters. I think that's good enough, because you don't want to start, overbloating the cast again, right? Like, you don't want this huge, massive cast for no reason. So I think it makes sense. Just have 1 or 2 characters for Dead City season 2. Introduce Dwight at the end. I would absolutely love that. But Carol's return is something that people are really excited for, and basically has kind of already been confirmed since the announcement of the show. If you remember, this show, like, Daryl Dixon was announced as a Daryl and Carol spinoff, and then she had to leave for personal reasons. And then afterwards, Norman Reedus kept talking about Melissa McBride as in, Daryl and Carol's story is not over, and really hinted like she's gonna be back, like she will be back, right? And look, he's right about that. Like she's coming back. All of us are super hyped, and there's been no official confirmation, obviously, like in terms of a press release. Besides Jeffrey Dean Morgan saying so in that post, and then everybody celebrating it, like all these official accounts and all that, and then the acknowledgement from some of the actors and stuff, and also the many set photos, right? Like, it's basically confirmed. There's no press release, obviously, by AMC, but it's basically confirmed at this point. Carol is returning. And so how could she return? How does she return to the Walking Dead universe? Because if she does return later on this year in the final episode in a post-credit scene, that'll be the first time we've seen her really in almost a year. How does it make sense with the story? So let's actually focus on what the story is going to be here for Daryl Dixon. We know that he's going to come across this convent called the Abbey, and he has a mission, or he's put on a mission anyways, as a messenger to deliver this boy, Laurent, who the nuns believe is a cure for the zombie virus. And Daryl is to deliver Laurent to a specific location, and then I guess we'll kind of see what happens at that point, right? And I do think this story, it feels very self-contained. It definitely seems like there's places where they could expand it, and I think that's kind of why I feel like Laurent, I think his story is going to end here in season 1. It could go on to be something much bigger than this, but I just kind of think it makes sense based off of the fact that I don't think they wrote material in here for Melissa McBride to be a part of this story specifically. So I feel like they wanted to, just sort of end a certain story just in case she came back for a season 2, or maybe in season 3, like whenever she was ready. And so I kind of feel like the Laurent story is likely going to come to an end in season 1, which means either he's going to die or he will survive. And I think we'll get the clear answer, or an answer as to whether or not he's actually the cure. Which I hope that he is, honestly. I think the easiest way that you could do it is that they go there, something happens. I don't know if it's going to be the very typical, like, they're going to have to kill him in order for him to be the cure. And so Daryl's like, no, I don't want that to happen, kind of thing. Like, I don't know if they'll do that. I don't think so, but I do hope that Laurent ends up being the cure overall. I think it would be super cool if they actually tested something or they figured something out and they were like, wow, he actually is the cure. He actually is like saving people. Like this actually is a thing, because then you have this one character that can do that, right? And I think that would just be kind of insane, because then this character becomes so valuable to the Walking Dead universe. And it's just like, what do you do with him, right? And then if he dies, like that's just also, at that point, that's also, you know, that's a heavy blow for a lot of people as well. So he becomes super important to the Walking Dead universe. And that's why I hope that he ends up being the cure, and that this isn't just like a storyline that they're doing to make it kind of interesting, but in the end, it's going to be like, oh, he wasn't. This was just sort of something that they believed in. It wasn't real. And now everyone's sad and it's like, whatever, right? Like, I don't want that to be the case, because it's just, I want some type of cure thing. It really feels like with The Walking Dead, we talk about a cure. We go down these routes where it's like, okay, we're getting close to a cure. These characters are trying to find one, but it ends up never, ever being the case, right? And that's fine, because it should be very hard to actually find a cure. But to find someone who's just completely immune to the virus, I think is super cool, because, I mean, first of all, he's in France, he's not in America. So like if he were to help people, it would be over there. And by the time it came to America, it would take some time. And then maybe the Civic Republic don't want that, right? Or not the Civic Republic, but the CRM specifically. It's the military of the Civic Republic. Maybe they have some issues with that, right? And maybe they get word that there is this boy named Laurent that is actually the cure. I could totally see them going in this direction, and the world expanding here for season 2 and 3, because the way I see season 1 ending is I really feel like it's going to be such a small story like this. I think it's going to be this little story with Daryl and Laurent basically ending, and it'll be kind of like Dead City, where Dead City's overall focus was, we have to get to Manhattan, New York City, and basically just take Herschel back, and then that's it. Like, the story was so small, but obviously it set everything up to being so massive, right? Like, season 2 is going to be so much bigger than season 1. It was the perfect introduction for the show. It was the perfect like pilot season, basically, like really a perfect season 1. And I think Daryl Dixon season 1 is going to serve as the same. I think it's going to really be like this really small story with Laurent and this cure thing, and then it's going to somehow expand for season 2 and obviously set up a bigger world. And I think that's where we're going to get into some more information about the villains here, because that's a really easy way to expand the world. And I think there's likely going to be CRM connections just based off of obviously the World Beyond post-credit scene. And it just overall makes sense, right? And that's why I don't think Carol is going to be a part of a lot of this here. I think a lot of what is happening with Laurent and Nat, I think, is going to be separate. Now, I'm not saying Carol's not going to meet them. Obviously, Carol will meet all those characters, but I think that overall story will be over and it's going to change into something different. So I think she'll be an addition to the next big storyline for season 2, because I do think they likely developed this story with Carol on their own, because they probably had no idea when Melissa McBride was going to show up, right? Like, they were likely like, you know, just in case she doesn't return until like season 3 or something, like we should probably do something here kind of separately. And that's why I feel like they sort of developed their own thing here for season 1. And then, you know, they found out she's coming back for season 2, or maybe they already knew. Maybe I'm completely wrong with this, and I have no idea. But I just have this feeling overall that they worked on it separately. And then once they found out she was going to come back to the show, they were like, all right, well, we can do this then. And they worked something in, kind of thing, right? And I just think that she will be a part of this next big scene here, or the next big story. And I think it's going to be a post-credit scene. I don't think she's going to show up at the end and save the day. I don't think it's going to be anything like that, because I think that's a little bit too much. Because again, I feel like this story is going to feel very, very small, and it's going to be Daryl Dixon's story. Like, it's going to be very much just a Daryl story. And I can see there being a post-credit scene at the end where I don't think Daryl's going to react to Carol being there. I actually think they're probably going to hold that off until season 2. I think it's just going to show Carol in France, right? And then that's basically going to be it. I think it's probably going to be something very small like that. And then we'll be so hyped for season 2, because then we're going to be awaiting that reunion, right? Probably it'll happen in the first or second episode. Likely the first one near the end, I'm guessing. And then we have Daryl and Carol together. And then just what happens at that point, right? Like, that's the thing. I really feel like Carol at this point is likely going to try and get Daryl to leave. I just don't, like, you know, like, I'm trying to think of like what makes sense. Carol could try and help him with whatever's going on, but I feel like her first thing is going to be like, well, you know, I came here, we have this boat, we can leave right now, basically. And Daryl's going to be like, well, I can't leave. I need to help them out with all of this, right? Like, I can't just leave right now. And then Carol's going to be like, well, what, is this your new home or whatever, right? And then I think Carol will eventually see. Carol will probably overall decide, well, I'll help you as well. And then maybe we'll go home afterwards, right? And I think that is a way for Daryl to leave, is it's going to be however Carol got there. And then I'm sure the villains will mess something up where they like destroy the boat or something, or just their way there, right? Or their way back. And then at that point, this show will become the Daryl and Carol spinoff that it was always meant to be, right? And that'll be really cool. These characters really work well together. I will say it's funny though, because now this show is just titled Daryl Dixon. Like there's no sort of going back from that now, right? Like it's just called Daryl Dixon. There's no way they can change the name for season 2. That would just be too weird. So Carol is just now a part of the Daryl spinoff, right? So in that sense, I mean, it doesn't really matter. I don't think fans are going to view it as anything anyways. I think fans are just going to view it as it's still the Daryl and Carol spinoff basically, and it's amazing having Carol back, right? And I think that I'm just happy to have Carol back. Like it's cool to have the Rick and Michonne spinoff, you know, the Maggie and Negan spinoff, and we have the Daryl spinoff, but like Carol is also a core character, and it was just kind of, you know, her last scene there on The Walking Dead was so sad. It was just like she's such a big character to this universe, and just to see that scene and be like is she coming back? Like you had no idea, right? And then you hear all these announcements, and it's just so exciting. So I can't wait to actually have her come back to the show and just be a part of some Walking Dead stories. I really cannot wait. I mean, Daryl and Carol's reunion is going to be really amazing. There's a bunch of stuff there too as well. Like she could update him on just some stuff that has been happening with everything. And yeah, it's going to be fun. But anyways, I'm going to leave it here. Make sure to post your predictions down below on how you think Carol's going to return. Do you think she's going to show up in the premiere of season 2? Do you think it's going to be a post-credit scene? Or do you think she's going to show up in the finale of season 1 and like save the day type of thing? Post all your thoughts down below. Hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.